Hey guys, so in this video, I'll show you how to set up a no-code personal assistant agent team that can manage your calendar, your email inbox, your contacts, your Notion pages, and much more, all by just telling it what to do through a voice message on WhatsApp. This agent team can, for example, send you a summary of all the meetings you have today, send out emails to your contact, can update your to-do list, and can send out meeting invites, but really anything that has to do with your personal administration. Now, the reason I wanted to build this is because a few weeks ago, I saw this demo of the upcoming Google Pixel 9, where they showcased this AI feature where you could leave it a voice message and it could take some actions on your behalf, like checking your calendar. And I thought this was a really interesting use case because these small little tasks throughout the day can really add up and become a distraction. At least they do for me. And if I could just leave a voice message and let an agent handle these tasks for me, it would save me a lot of time. And as I'm not going to buy the Google Pixel only for this feature, which will probably be very limited still, I wanted to see if I can create something similar myself. And actually, it was surprisingly easy to set up. So if you're looking to automate your own admin or looking for an interesting use case to sell AI agents to clients, stick with me and I'll show you step by step how to set it up. I'll first show you a quick demo of my agent in action. Then I'll give you an overview of the setup for this system. And then I'll give you a detailed breakdown of how you can set this up yourself. Now, in my setup, I use WhatsApp to communicate with my agent. Now, I know there's some North Americans out there that don't use WhatsApp. If that's the case, you can actually quite easily switch this out for maybe Telegram or maybe even Slack. Now, normally, of course, I'd use this on my phone, but to show you, I'll use it on my desktop. And really the nice thing about this personal assistant agent is you can give it multiple tasks to do. And because it's an agent system, they can reason and understand and therefore execute on multiple different tasks and in a sort of dynamic, ever-changing query you're giving it. So let's say I just want to know which meetings I have tomorrow. I want to see if I have any important unread emails and get my to-do list for today. So all I do is just tell it to, hey, can you please check which meetings I have for tomorrow? Also check if I have any important unread emails in my inbox, and please get my to-do list for today. So in the background, my agent is actually delegating some of these tasks to sub-agents. So basically I have an email manager sub-agent who manages all the emails or everything related to my inbox. Then I have a calendar agent who can create calendar invites or get calendar invites. Then I have a Notion agent. So you can see we got it back. So we got, here are your meeting schedules for tomorrow. So I got 2 meetings. I got the link to, and you have 3 important unread emails in your inbox with a little bit of a summary and the action item. And here below, you can see here's your to-do list for today. So you can see, you get a nice little recap of everything that's important. But really the powerful thing is that these agents, of course, can take action on your behalf. So let's say, for example, I actually want to book a meeting here with Oscar tomorrow. And also I want to send him an email back confirming that meeting. And I want to add something to my to-do list. So let's say, all right, request a quick meeting with tomorrow between 9 to 12 to discuss client onboarding. Okay, so let's say I can say something like, all right, please create a meeting for 9 to 9:30 a.m. With Oscar Johnston. Also send Oscar Johnston an email confirming that meeting from 9 to 9:30 and also add prepare client onboarding to my to-do list. This is why these agents are so powerful, and I think a really good use case because you can come with these complex queries. These agents can break them down and give it to the right agent to perform these complex sort of executions. So we got it back. I've successfully created the event with Oscar Johnston. I've also sent an email to Oscar confirming the meeting. Additionally, I've added prepare client onboarding to your to-do list with medium priority. All right, so perfect. Let's see if it actually did it. So we can go to send. Let's refresh. And you can see it sent a meeting. Hi, Oscar. I hope this message finds you well. I want to confirm our meeting scheduled for tomorrow from 9 to 9:30. All right, good. And you can see it's booked in 9 to 9:30. And we can check my to-do list on Notion. And you can see it added in a prepare client onboarding. So that's the way it works. Of course, I can mix around with different queries and try different things, but you can see it can be quite powerful to have a personal assistant like this. So now I'll give you a quick breakdown of how this system is actually set up. Now, the softwares I use to build this are Relevance AI and Make.com, which are really becoming my main tech stack for these agent solutions. Now, if you've seen me before, you probably know Relevance AI by now. I'm a big fan. If you're new to my channel, Relevance AI is an AI tool, an AI agent builder, and you can also build these multi-agent systems that I, for example, used in this particular build. And it's a complete no-code platform, and you can really build extremely powerful AI agent systems. If you're completely new to my channel or to Relevance AI, I do have a full beginner's tutorial on my YouTube channel too. So if you're new to it, make sure to check that out. And then I use Make.com to make some of these, to make our AI agent access some of these other softwares or integrations easier through Make.com, because Relevance AI does have a limited amount of native integrations inside Relevance AI. So for example, in this particular build, Relevance AI doesn't have a native integration with Notion. So then I use Make.com to make our AI agent easily access Notion or other softwares through Make.com. I'll show you later in detail how you can set that up. So the way our personal assistant agent team is set up is in the following way. It might look a little bit complex, but it's not. So basically here we have our triggers. Here we have our personal assistant manager agent. And here we have our sub agents and their tools. So in terms of the trigger, of course, in my specific setup, I have WhatsApp, right? So I send a voice message to WhatsApp. It then goes speech to text with AI and send the text message to my personal assistant manager agent, which my personal assistant manager agent really only has two responsibilities. The first one is breaking my queries or tasks down and delegating it to the right sub agents, because these sub agents are actually the ones that are doing the work. And the second responsibility of the personal assistant manager is to communicate with me. That's why we have equipped him with one tool, which is send a WhatsApp message. So that's it. That's it for the personal assistant manager agent. Then we have our three sub agents, right? The first one is our email manager agent, who basically has all the tools available to manage everything around my inbox. So you can see his first tool is contacts database, because he needs access to a database of my emails. For example, in my example, I said, can you send an email to Oscar Johnston? I didn't actually send an email. So this contacts database can do a vector data search and actually pull the email from a name only. So that's the first tool of our email manager. The second one is get emails. So you can get any email. You can get emails from specific people. You can get emails from specific dates or specific timeframes, or he can get unread emails, things like that. Then we have tool 3, which is sending emails. And tool 4 is get current date. Sometimes you'll need to know what the current date is. Then we have our second sub-agent, which is the calendar manager agent. And same thing, right? He has a contacts database. He has get calendar events, create calendar event, and get calendar availability in this case. And then we have our Notion agent, who can basically update and get information from my Notion databases. So in this case, get my to-do list, update my to-do list, get my YouTube content calendar, and update my YouTube content calendar. So that's it, really. So you can see it. All it is 13 tools and 4 sub-agents. And why am I saying all it is? Because for the amount of complex tasks it can do, it's quite a simple setup. Because we have these 13 tools and basically 4 prompts. And you can see the amount of sort of complex executions it can perform. And therefore, I think this is such a good example of a good use case for AI agents. Because, for example, you could build something like this in a workflow automation builder like only in Make.com. But because there's so many variables and conditions involved in these queries I give it, or multiple tasks, that building a system like that would work like this one is working through a platform like Make.com would be extremely complex, almost infinitely big in terms of possibilities and conditions, and also in terms of speed of deployment. Because, for example, this system I set up in less than a day, which I know if you try to set something like this up in Make.com, it would not take you a day. So yes. Anyway, I think you get the system. Now I'll give you a detailed breakdown of how I actually set up these triggers, these tools, and the agent prompting, and how to actually make them work together. So here we are in my Relevance AI dashboard. If you're new to Relevance AI, I put the link in the description below too. You can start out completely for free. You get 100 credits for free a day. And if you want to do a little bit more, you can pay $2 for extra 1,000 credits. So you can play around with this quite cheaply. Also, Make.com is completely for free if you're just starting out. So also the template will be available, as always, completely for free in the description below. Now keep in mind that there will be quite some adjustments and changes you have to make actually make it work for you. So even if you're going to clone my template, make sure to stick with me to understand exactly how to make it work for yourself. And lastly, I wanted to say thank you for the positive responses. I am going to start my Skool community soon, and I'm working on it right now, where we go over a little bit more advanced agent setups and more business use cases for agents. I'm working on it right now, and I'll let you guys know as soon as it's done. So let me start by showing you the personal assistant manager agent and his tools and how he's triggered. And then I'll go through each sub-agents and their tools agent by agent. So let's start with the personal assistant manager agent. So I'll first start with the setup of this agent. You can see here we have our agent profile. Not that important, it's just a name and the agent description. This part is only important if it's a sub-agent, because this is the agent description your manager agent will read and know what the sub-agent does. So in this case, it's not that important, but for sub-agents it is. And then in this case, the most important for this agent is the core instructions, right? The system prompt, which in this case is fairly simple because this manager agent doesn't have that many responsibilities. His biggest responsibilities is breaking down these tasks and delegating it to the right sub-agents and communicating what he has done through me, through WhatsApp, right? So you can see I have role here. You're Ben van Sprendel's personal assistant manager agent. You're in charge of performing tasks related to his email inbox, calendar, and Notion. I give it some context. You have access to 3 sub-agents: email agent, calendar agent, Notion agent. You can use these to perform actions or retrieve info from. You've also been equipped with a send WhatsApp tool. You will only communicate with Ben through sending messages with this tool. Ben wants to receive all updates, questions, and any other related message on his WhatsApp by using this tool. So that's the way I prompted to communicate all the things he's done through my WhatsApp, because otherwise he will just put it here in the Relevance AI dashboard, which I don't want. I wanted it on my WhatsApp. So then I give it the objective, right? You'll be triggered when Ben sends you a WhatsApp message. And as Ben's expert personal assistant agent, you'll decide the best course of action to take to achieve the task you've been given. Right? Again, I prompted the WhatsApp thing. And then I give it some examples. Some examples of tasks might be, please tell me all the meetings I've scheduled today, or please. And then this part, you could actually add in example section, which in general is good practice. And you can even go a little bit further and give these agents sort of a breakdown of a task. So you give it an example of, okay, this is the task you've been triggered with. This is your course of action you should take with this specific trigger. And this is what you should report back to me. Now, of course, it's not as simple with these agent setups, like this is the input, this should be the output, because the variety of tasks can be quite big, but it's still good to give it maybe 1 or 2 examples of how it should approach one of these tasks. In my experience, it does help. I didn't put it because it worked without using it, but in general, it's good practice to add it in. Then I have the SOP, which is very short in this case because there is no real SOP. It highly depends on the task I give it. So your SOP depends on the task, and you will always think step by step to be able to achieve a task. This is the most important section in this system prompt, which is the tools and sub-agents, where we describe very well to the manager agent what these sub-agents do and what they can do, and also which tools it has, of course. So again, you can see here I have the use WhatsApp tool to communicate with me. Then I have the email manager agent. So you can actually use a slash here to call to use this in the prompt, right? These sub-agents and these tools. So that's what I did here. And then I describe exactly what it can do, right? The email manager agent can do all tasks related to my inbox. You can get emails, send emails, and write emails. When you delegate a task to the email manager agent, be as detailed as possible when instructing him what to do, right? And the same thing I did for the calendar manager agent. And the same thing I did for the calendar manager agent and the Notion manager agent. And then lastly, I have my note section, which is very important in my experience, because these LLMs, the instructions you give them at the end of prompts and at the beginning of prompts are being taken into account more than instructions given in the middle of the prompt. So any important sort of rules it has to follow, or maybe things when you're testing it out and you see that it fails at some things, then always add it here in the notes section, because it will take these instructions at the end of the prompt more into account. For example, you can see I've again the WhatsApp to communicate with me prompt, because what I noticed the first time I used this, it didn't always send me a WhatsApp back to update me with what it had done. So it just reported it back here to me on Relevance AI. So I just doubled down on that in the notes section, and after that, it worked well. So that's it for the system prompt. Then we have the flow builder, which in this case I haven't used, because the flow builder, again, the variety of tasks is quite big. So there's not really a specific sequence of actions to follow. That's why I left it empty. The flow builder is more to sort of double down on if your agent needs to follow a specific sequence of tasks. Then we have the abilities, labeling tasks. Also didn't use it because labeling tasks is more for if you're managing your agent inside of the Relevance AI dashboard. You can, for example, say whenever you send an email, label it, the conversation as sent email. So you can do that here and just add a tag, right? And basically prompt it when to use that tag. So I didn't use that. And then we have our tools. Here, only one tool, Send WhatsApp tool. I'll show you that one later. And here we have our sub-agents. So we have our 3 sub-agents. You can add sub-agents here. And you have some extra configuration with these sub-agents. You can, first of all, decide if you want to let them auto-run or if you want to have human approval, right? Approval required. Now, in this case, I let it auto-run because otherwise you constantly have to tell your agent, yes, you can use the email manager agent. And as these are not extremely important tasks, it's fine to let them run by themselves. But it can be good if you really need to double check and make sure that things are right before doing something. You can use these approval required steps. Then we have settings here, prompt for how to use. Now, I actually left it empty, but in general, again, it's good practice to actually fill this out, because this basically tells your manager agent, again, you double down on what can this email manager agent do, right? So for example, I could say in this one, email manager agent can retrieve and send emails within Ben's inbox, right? Just so your manager agent is clear what this agent can do. And then we have a template for communication. So you can use basically a template for when your manager agent is delegating a task to an email manager agent. You can have a sort of fixed template of what it should send to that sub agent. Now, in this case, I also left it empty because if you're using a template, you're sort of limiting the options. And as the variety of tasks can be quite big in this specific setup, I don't want to limit the amount of possibilities my email manager agent can do by having a template for communication. But in these templates, you can also use variables. But yeah, in this case, if there, again, better use case, if you have a very specific sequence of actions that you want your manager agent to take. And then we have lastly, advanced settings, nothing really important here. We have the language model. I use GPT-4o in this case. I've experimented a lot with GPT-4o Mini, which in my experience is actually very good. Of course, GPT-4o is better, but GPT-4o Mini is really cheap and in my experience works really well, even with these agents. So if you're trying to save some money, highly recommend the Mini model. So this is it for the agent setup. I'll show you quickly how this works in practice. So you can see here's the trigger I just gave in my demo, right? All right, please create a meeting for 9 to 9:30 with Oscar Johnston. Also send Oscar Johnston an email confirming the meeting from 9 to 9:30. And you can see the voice to text is not perfect, but it still did it right. And prepare client onboarding to-do list, right? So you can see here what it did in the background. So you can see it has delegated all of these tasks to the different sub-agents. So you can actually see here what it said to the sub-agent. So for example here, the calendar manager agent is, please create a calendar event for Ben with the following details. Meeting with Oscar Johnston, August 23rd, time, description, etc. Right? And then this is basically the prompt that my calendar manager agent gets. And with that, it can use his tools to actually do what we want him to do. So in this case, he got the current date to understand which date it is tomorrow. Then he found the email of Oscar Johnston, and then he created the calendar event. And then he reports that back to the manager agent. I've successfully created the calendar event. So that's it. And it's the same for the email manager agent, right? You can see, please send the following email to Oscar Johnston, right? And he already found now the email because because the calendar manager agent reported that back. So again, email manager agent sends the email and reports that back to the manager agent, who then sends me a WhatsApp. And lastly, same thing for the Notion agent to update my to-do list. And then once it's done all of that, it sends me a WhatsApp with the summary of what it has done. So that's how it works. Now I'll show you first the trigger, or how I actually trigger this through WhatsApp. Then I'll show you the WhatsApp tool, and then I'll go through over the other sub-agents in more details and their tools. Now, I'm using Make.com for the WhatsApp trigger, and you might be asking why, because if you've seen one of my previous videos, I used Agentive to integrate an agent with WhatsApp. Now, the reason why is because we can't actually use these multi-agent systems inside of Agentive. We can only import tools into the Agentive agent. So as this is a little bit more complex setup, it won't work inside of Agentive. So Agentive, in my experience, is more for the simpler setups. If you're going to work with multi-agent systems, you can't use Agentive anymore. Or if there's a way, please let me know, because I haven't found it. So, and then the second question you might ask is, why don't I use the native integration of Relevance AI? Because they do actually here, if you check it out, triggers, they have WhatsApp for Business. Now, the reason is simple, it doesn't work. So I don't know if it's a bug or they haven't finished it yet, but it doesn't work yet. So that's why I'm using Make.com. So I'll show you now how to set that up in Make.com. So here we are in my Make.com WhatsApp trigger. Now, it's important to note that to connect Make.com with WhatsApp, you do need the official WhatsApp API. Now, it's a little bit of a hassle to set it up. It probably takes you 15 or 20 minutes. I'm not going to explain you in this video how to do that, because it's not really the purpose of this video, and I don't want to make it a 2-hour video. But I'll probably put a link in the description below of some other guy who explains you how to set up the WhatsApp API if you want to do this on WhatsApp. If you only use it for yourself, you probably only need a test number, which makes it a lot easier, because you probably don't have to verify your Meta business account, which is the thing that causes the most hassle, really. So if you're interested in that, check my description. I'll probably put a link there to some other guy who explains to you how to set that up. If you want to keep it simple, you can also use Slack, right? So you can change these WhatsApp modules here for Slack. You have a watch message module in Slack where you could probably use that, or Telegram will probably be easier too. But I'll still show you how this works. So basically what happens with the WhatsApp API is you get a WhatsApp API token, right, which you put into Make.com. Once you've set it up, and a phone ID, you put those two things in, then you have your connection set up, and then Make.com gives you a webhook here. And you put that webhook back into Meta for developers, where basically you tell WhatsApp that every time a new message comes in, send or trigger this webhook, and then this flow will be triggered. So you can see watch events, which basically means watch messages. And then I have a router here because we have two options, right? It's either an audio or text. Now you could even do documents or photos, which could be an interesting use case too. But in this case, I've only had audio and text. And in the case that it's just text, all I do here is set up an HTTP model that basically sends this message to my Relevance AI agent, right? So Relevance AI doesn't have a native integration inside of Make.com. So we use an HTTP module. I'll go over very quickly how you set this up. I do have it in more detail in my other videos and also in my beginner tutorial. So if this goes too fast for you, make sure to check that out. So basically you go back here into your agent profile, and here you have an option that says API, right? Here you go on endpoint, and you copy that. You go back to Make, and you put that in the URL. You select the method is post. By the way, this is an HTTP make a request module, right? Then you have two headers. Content type is application JSON. You can also find this in the information back in Relevance, but this will be the same for you. Then you have your authorization, which name is authorization, right? And the value is your API key, which you can generate right here. Click this button, right? That's it. Then down here, you go and select body type raw, content type JSON, and here you put in the request body, which you can also find here. Request body is right here. So you copy this and paste it in, right? This basically tells your agent, tells Make.com or the API which agent to trigger. So that's the agent ID. Now, we added in one more thing here, which is, besides, you can see here, the agent ID. So it knows which agent to trigger. And then we have another one, which is conversation ID. Now, why did I do that? Because if we don't do that, every time we send a message, it will create a new task. So I can show you here. Like this, I create a new task and then basically forgets all the information I've sent before, which we don't want in this case, because we want him to remember, our agent, what he has done before, what messages I've sent before. So we don't want to trigger a new task every time. So that's why in this case, you have to add in the conversation ID. Now, how do you find the conversation ID of an agent? You can basically you click on one of the tasks, right? And there you can find here in the URL, at the end part, this would be the conversation ID. So let's check if that's correct. Yes, right, 894, right? So you go on the right task and then you select this last part of the URL behind the slash. And you just type in here, conversation underscore ID, and add in this. That's it. Lastly, you can add parse response, and okay, that's it. And then for the WhatsApp voice, we actually need to take one more step, which is speech to text, right? Which we use OpenAI for, Whisper. So first we actually have to download a media. So what I do here is a filter, right? So the condition is if an audio message inside of the WhatsApp module exists, then you go through this flow. And if it doesn't exist, go through this flow. Or if text exists, if it doesn't exist, go through this flow, right? That's basically what I've done here. So you can select these variables here. You can see message, and then you have audio here. And then you just select this as a variable. If it exists, it will automatically route it to this one. Now, then we download actually that media. We have to download that one. That's another WhatsApp module. You just add in the variable of that audio again, right? And then in this case, we just put the Whisper OpenAI model where we select the file. It automatically selects the file already because it identified that you used that module, that downloaded module before. So it automatically identified that. You can still choose a model. Well, there's only one model. You can even give it a prompt if you want, but in this case, I just want the exact text. And that's it. And then we do the same thing, right? We trigger our agent with that message. So that's it. That's it for the setup of the WhatsApp trigger. Now, again, you can set this up with Slack, right? If you prefer. Now, I'll show you the tool, right? Which might be interesting for some of you, which is actually sending that WhatsApp message back, right? So here we have our tool. I'll send WhatsApp. So I can show you here. And again, I used Make.com to actually send this WhatsApp. So I connected Relevance with Make.com to send this WhatsApp. Now, how's this tool set up? I give it the agent a good description, right? Use this at all times to communicate updates and questions to Ben, right? Send WhatsApp, then message. Use this to communicate any updates. Please make sure to give summaries and concise info for easy readability on my WhatsApp. Also, don't use any special formatting, right? Then I have the message here. I store this. This is what my agent fills out, right? This message. And then I store that in a variable, which we're then going to use in the API step. So here we have the API step where we actually, in this case, we do have one more step because I noticed he still used like special formatting, which in WhatsApp doesn't really work. So that's why I added in one more step where an AI step basically that takes out that special formatting. So you can see I added in that variable. And a little prompt, please take out all special formatting for this message. Don't change or take any actual content. So I can show you how this works. So let's say he actually did do some special formatting. And you can see took that out, right? So, and then we actually use this. We store this again in a variable, and then we send this over to Make.com. So I'll show you now. This is the way how you can use Make.com or a lot of different softwares, all the ones that are natively integrated with Make.com into your Relevance AI agent. So you use an API step here in Make.com. You select post, and then in Make.com, here, this is the one that sends messages. We're going to create a webhook, right? Because a custom webhook, basically we tell the API call to send information to this custom webhook here in Make.com. So you can just select webhooks, right? Custom webhook, right? You create one, and then it'll generate you a webhook. You can see it here And then you can copy that webhook, you put it there in the URL, right? And all you then have to do is send over the variables you want to send over. So in this case, we want to send over the variable of the text of the message. So we say message, and here we add in the variable. That's it. And then with this, it already sends it to that webhook. And then all we do is we add here a module of WhatsApp, send a message, right? We add in the variable we received from the webhook here in the body, in the text, and that's it. And then lastly, the webhook response, right? So we actually want to send information back to Relevance AI. Maybe if it failed or whatever, we want our agent to know. So you can send that information back with a webhook response, right? So you can just add this, right? And then you can add your variables through there. I didn't add in anything. Message sent. Basically, if it goes through, it reports back message sent. So that's it for the WhatsApp tool. You might be asking, because actually Relevance AI does have a WhatsApp send follow-up message, WhatsApp business. Now, again, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, there's a bug, so that's why I use make.com. So this is it for the personal assistant manager agent. Now I'll go over these sub agents, which have actually a lot more tools, and they do the really interesting actions. So if we go back to our dashboard, we're going to go first to our email manager agent, which again, not an extremely difficult prompt, right? Very similar setup, rolling context, objective. And again, the important part really, again, is these tools, especially because this agent has a lot more tools, right? Get current date will get you the current date of today. Important to always use when the request has a date or a day or date mentioned, right? Find emails. This tool will find your emails when my contacts when you only have a name. You'll use this when you have to send emails or get emails from specific contexts. Then we have get emails. The get email tool will help you retrieve emails from Ben's inbox. You can get all emails from a specific time window by just using the start and end time inputs. You're going to see this later. In this case, you'll leave the email option empty. You can retrieve a specific email of a specific contact by using the email option in the email field. So if I want to say, can you show me the last email Oscar Johnson sent me? You can just fill that out and basically only retrieve me the email of a specific contact. And then we have the send email tool. The send email allows you to send emails on Ben's behalf. You always report what you've done back to your manager agent in as much detail as possible. That's it, really. Not a lot in the other settings. Then we, of course, have our tools here, which I'll go over right now. Advanced settings. That's it. So let me start. This one is actually a little bit easier because Relevance AI does have a native integration with Gmail. So a lot of these things we actually don't use or need make.com for. So first we have the get emails tool. So again, this tool gets specific emails or inbox emails from my inbox, right? And here we can see the user inputs. This is actually wrong. This should be read or unread, right? So basically our agent can here use only unread when retrieving new unread emails, use either when retrieving specific emails from specific people. So this is basically how we can retrieve either only unread emails or all emails. So our agent can fill that out themselves, right? We store this in a variable. I'm going to show you later where I put that. Then we have specific email domain, right? And in this case, I put it on optional because sometimes we don't want to retrieve emails from specific, and then it should leave it empty. And I instruct that to do again here, right? Only use when retrieving emails from specific email domain, leave empty otherwise, right? We store this also in a variable, and then we have the amount of emails to retrieve. Use 1 if you're retrieving a specific email from a specific contact, and I just put a random number. Use 20 if you're retrieving multiple emails without a specific contact. So you have the number. So that's it. And then we use the get emails from Gmail module inside of Relevance AI. So we don't need make.com here. So you can see get emails module, and you will have to connect your account, which is quite easy, just Google login. And then you can here decide the amount of emails you want to retrieve. So in this case, I put in a variable because depending on what I want, our agent is going to fill out a different number. And page token you can ignore in this case. It's not very useful for this specific one. But here, the advanced settings are important, right? So you can basically filter out other things here. And you can see, for example, I filtered here only emails sent to my inbox. Then I have from filter, which is the email, right? So in the case that I want to retrieve a specific email, it's going to fill out, our agent is going to fill out that email here. And then this will be input here, and we only retrieve emails from that specific contact. But if it leaves it empty, this will be empty, and the module will retrieve all the emails. And then I have one more variable here, which is read or unread emails, right? So read or unread emails. So that's basically this variable, right? So if we want all emails or only unread emails, that's it. You can do some more advanced things here if you want, but this is all I needed. So that's it. How it works, and basically this tool just gives you all the information, all your emails back. Now I added in one more step because you get sort of an array of strings back, which is a lot of code, etc. So I just put in one more AI step to summarize each email below in 30 words max in a concise way. Still include all relevant info. Make sure to mention action items of each email if there's one, right? So that's it. That's how the get emails tool works. Then send email, very similar, but we use the send email module of Relevance AI. So in this case, we have email domain, Gmail thread ID, because if we want to actually respond to an email, we can use the thread ID. Now, actually in my setup, I haven't included the database where I can find thread IDs, but you could set that up where it could know the thread ID, or actually in the get emails one, you can also get the thread ID. So it knows to which message to respond to, right? So I left it on as optional because it's only when you respond to a certain message, right? Then we have the subject line, also optional because if we respond to something, we don't need one. And the email body, the content of the email to be sent, right? And then we have the send Gmail email module in Relevance AI, which requires you to put in the email subject, and email body. And again, you can put in some extra settings here, which is the Gmail thread ID variable. So that's it, fairly simple. And then we have the get current date. I'm not going to show you, it's very simple. It's just a little script that gets you the current date. And then we have the contacts database, which might be interesting. So find emails, right? Which both the calendar agent and the email agent are equipped with. So get email from a name, right? So all we have is a name here. And then we do a knowledge search. So basically we have set up here a knowledge base, right? Inside of Relevance AI. And this is the nice thing also, I believe, about Relevance AI, which is they have a built-in database and knowledge section where you can do vector search without using third parties. Softwares, you can all do this from within Relevance AI, which makes it really powerful in my opinion. So basically all I did is just set up a knowledge base. I went to my Google Contacts, right? And I downloaded basically a list of all my contacts. Okay, I'm in the wrong account, but you get the idea. You can just download all your contacts here. You import it into a knowledge base in Relevance AI. And from there, you can then sync it, right? Make sure it's vectorized. And then you just add it here, that knowledge base. Then you can query through the name and it will retrieve all the info. So for example, of that name. So you could see here, Oscar Johnston, right? It's the one we used before. So if we run this, it will do a search on that database to find, and you can see we got the email here. Now, in this case, I actually used keyword because it works well enough. We don't need a vector data search, but we could do that too. Because keyword works well if you actually have the right keyword. Vector is more for, understanding complex queries and making relations with things. So you can see it works also with vector, but I use keyword in this case. And yeah, do have some extra settings here. I will probably make another video on explaining in more detail how you can use these vector search and knowledge bases in Relevance AI. So that's it. That's how we get the email. And that's it for the email manager agent. Quite straightforward, I think. Calendar manager agent works very similar. So let me show you quickly. So very similar prompt again, right? The tools it has are get calendar events, find emails, which I just showed you, create the calendar event, and get current date. That's it. So the get calendar event, let me show you that one quickly. So we need a specific time string here, right? An ISO formatted string to be able to process these times inside of Make. So I actually used Make.com in this one. So similar setup as that one. I told you in the send WhatsApp tool, right? So we set up a webhook again in Make.com to be able to send this information to Make.com and the calendar in this case. So here we have the get calendar events. So this webhook receives that information, right? So in this case, we have the start date, the end date, right? In which time slot does it have to search? And if we want to search for specific email event, then we can use the email module, right? Right. And then again, we send that information to our Make.com automation, which in this case has two routers, right? Because this is from a specific one. So we only want to retrieve one specific one with our specific email. So we put in that condition, right? Because this will only retrieve one. And we actually have in this one, this module, this get search events module, we put in the start date, the end date. And in this one, we also put in the email to only retrieve the calendar or the events that include this person, right? And in the other one, we leave that one empty because we want to probably retrieve all. For example, this one would be used when I say get all my meetings for tomorrow, right? And this one would be used if I say when is my meeting with Oscar Johnson tomorrow, right? That's the difference. So here I actually put in an array aggregator because you get different bundles here. So that's how it works in Make.com. When you get multiple events, then you get multiple bundles. And if you directly connect it to the webhook and you send a bundle back, you only get one, right? So that's why we use an array aggregator that basically combines all these bundles into one and then sends it back to Relevance AI through the webhook response. So you can see I put the array of the array aggregator. So if you want to know these things in more detail, let me know in the comments and I'll maybe give a little bit more of a tutorial on Make.com. But I know there's a lot of tutorials on Make.com. So that's why I'm not going too deep into it and more focus on the Relevance AI. But if you guys are interested, let me know and I'll give a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown of Make.com. Now that's it. So then we get the events back and that will send it back to our Relevance AI. And again, we do the same thing. We summarize these meetings before sending it back to our agent. Now, that's it. And I'm not going to show you, I think, also I think you get the idea, right? And I also put in the templates below because you also have the create calendar events, of course. But you can see the setup. And then we also have the Notion agent, right? Who can access my Notion. And it's the same setup too. You can see here in Make.com, I can show you very quickly. We have my get my to-do list, get my YouTube content calendar, update my to-do list, and update YouTube content calendar. The bigger point I want to mention is you can see the power of this. Like if you give these agents access to these tools, it can basically perform any action in your calendar, right? Or in your email or in your Notion, but you can think of many more use cases for this. For example, Google Drive, anything you can do, you can add this to the system to make it access all of your tech stack or personal administration, or even in work. You can do really powerful things by just giving these agents access to these tools that can perform the actions they need, and they'll decide how to actually use those tools depending on the task they got. And also the powerful thing of this system setup is that we can reuse these agents all the time. Now, I have my email agent ready. It's done. It can do everything inside of my email. And if I build a new system, let's say, I don't know, I want another build, then I want to have access to my email inbox, I can just give this agent to a new manager agent. And right away, I give my system, my new agent system, access to perform any actions inside of my email inbox, which makes it, I think, an extremely powerful sort of framework also of thinking about building agents. And I think it's really, I want to double down on that. The strong point of these agents is the speed of deployment too. Because again, trying to redo this thing for a new setup takes so much time. And in this case, I could literally just take the agent I already built and give it to a new manager agent. So that's it for this video. I know it's not as broken down as normal, but because there's 13 tools and I don't want to make this a 2-hour video, I think you get the idea. The template is for free in the description below. And yeah, if you thought I went through it too quickly, please let me know also in the description below if this went over your head. But I think you get the idea and the framework, which I think is the most important also for making this work for yourself. Because if you want to make this work for yourself, of course, you do have to change out these softwares for yourself and prompt it a little different. It's mostly connecting these different softwares that is the work. Anyway, if you're still with me, thank you so much for watching. I will be changing my angle for my upcoming videos a little bit because first of all, I think through my tutorials on my YouTube videos, I think I've shown most of the ins and outs you need to know to really start building your first AI agents. And second of all, I really want to take that macro perspective because I really see more and more that AI agents are going to be the future. Some of the work that can already be automated or replaced by these AI agents is insane. Some of the client setups I've seen are really making a huge impact in these businesses. So I want to take that angle a lot more and give you a higher level overview. If you're missing something, if you still have suggestions, of course, please let me know in the comments below. And I do really take them into consideration. But yes, also keep an eye out for my community. I will hopefully launch it soon. So keep an eye out for that. And again, thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.